Woo! What's going on? What's going on? I know it's been a while, but I wanted to get on here and talk about something. So somebody just resent me an article, and we had a brief little conversation about it, but I want to make sure that I brought it to the attention of the people because, like I said, you have to be careful with how much power you give people outside of you. Um, and this really includes everybody, but specifically, I'm talking about your healthcare providers. Okay, so whether it be your doctor, your nurses, your PAs, or whoever, you have to be very careful about just how much power of your health and your life and control you are giving them for yourself. Okay, and along with that, you have to also be very careful to not allow their limitations as far as their understandings or as far as their understanding as far as the newest information. You have to be very careful about allowing that to be your ceiling when it comes to health improvement because you may have a practitioner who still believes that type 2 diabetes is chronic and progressive, and that the best thing you can do is take medications. You may still have a practitioner that believes that way. And that's fine, but if you bring the information to them and they have no interest in looking into it whatsoever, then that's the problem because this just shows that they're not open to actually learning new things. Because practitioners can learn as well too. So what I want to do right now is talk about this new article. This was a study that was recently done a couple weeks ago. It was done over in Germany. And so I told you. First of all, let me say what's going on with everybody. Jax, what's going on, sis? I appreciate you always being here. Patricia, what's going on? Yolanda, congratulations to Yolanda. Yolanda is a TFL 28 member, the Fast Life 28 Day Challenge member. She gave us some great news. I hope it's okay if I share it. But Yolanda told us that her doctor has pretty much stopped her from taking her diabetes medication. So that's huge. Congratulations again, sis. Very, very happy for you. All right. Ramona, what's going on? And Ramona, I believe you are with us now. I believe now, Ramona, right? So for everybody who's not familiar with what I'm talking about, we have a challenge that goes on, that is going on next week. It's called the Fast Life 28-Day Challenge, also known as TFL28.com. And this is a challenge where it's myself and two other coaches, Kathleen Richardson from Beauty and the Barbell. My name is Edward Williams. I'm the founder and creator of Health Body Necessary. I'm also a PA, physician assistant by day, nutritionist, personal trainer, all those things. But we pretty much, we virtually coach a group in a very loving way, in a very close way, as far as improving their health utilizing fasting. And so it's 28 days of coaching. We have 5 protocols. We're going to add another one for those who want to be even more aggressive with their fasting. We have video modules as far as how fasting works. Also video modules as far as blood pressure, diabetes. We have meal plans, vegan and non-vegan meal plans. We have workouts, high intensity workouts, low impact workout. So if you have any back pain or joint pain, those workouts will be for you. We have videos, information on far as how to work with your practitioner. We also have you fill out an initial assessment. That way we know what's going on with you, who you are, where you've been, and where you're trying to go. And we also have 5 habits that we're practicing on a daily basis. These 5 habits are very, very basic, very simple. We make it so that it's practical and sustainable so that you can continue doing this for the rest of your life and so that you can also pass it on to your household, your community, your church, and so on and so forth. And we do this for 28 days. We also have weekly family meetings on Sunday. This is where we all come together as a family and we discuss our wins. We help each other figure out any obstacles and hurdles that we have. And we move forward as a community. We move forward as a tribe. We move forward as a group because we work way better when we're working together versus separate. And so there's an old African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, then go alone. If you want to go far, then go together. And that's really the African traditions. It's something that, the 3 of us, we embed the culture inside the group. They also embody that as well, too. And that's something we're holding on and we're really going back and grabbing many of the things that our ancestors, our loved ones left for us to utilize for today. So that's the 24, that's the Fast Life 28-Day Challenge. Make sure you check that out. I promise you won't regret it. Yolanda is saying, yes, it'll change your life. It'll definitely change your life. You know, we strongly recommend that you do 3 rounds, but 1 round itself would definitely change your life because it'll give you tools. It'll give you tools that you can go on and continue to use. And the fasting, when you continuously do it in a strategic way, it becomes like a compound effect, which is a really good book. But you know, what you see in the first week, just be consistent with it. You're going to see double that in the second week, third week, and so on and so forth. But you have to be consistent, and that's where we help you out, because every single day we're checking in with you, and so we have daily accountabilities every single day. Cornelius, what's going on, brother? What's going on? Cornelius is also in the challenge as well too. All right. So what I want to talk about today. So back in 2014, pretty much fresh out of school, right? I wanted to figure out what was going on, why my people specifically are dealing with such high rates of high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, strokes. And so then I told you, you all who know my story, I took the Malcolm X approach. Malcolm X says, always go to the root, for the most part, when it comes to solutions in this country, they usually go for the superficial solutions because you never deal with the problem, but you sell something that seems to be the solution. And that way it becomes recurring revenue. So I went to the bottom. I had to start with basic anatomy and physiology. And I was finding a lot of things that did not line up with what I learned in school. And then there were just so many gaps as far as, how did they get to that point? And so I went through all of that, and I came out saying things that sounded crazy back then, because it was even hard for me to say it in the beginning. But I came out saying things like, high blood pressure is not a disease. And at that time, when I first started saying it, I was very, I'm not gonna say scared, but I wasn't comfortable saying it. Now I'll say it back and forth because that's just what it is. I also started saying that, diabetes is not really a disease as well, too, the way that we are suggesting that it is, which also made me look at the treatments and the therapies that people were being prescribed for it. And it just really didn't line up. Around that time, I was also saying that, fatty liver and fatty pancreas has a huge part to do with type 2 diabetes and the actual progression and the actual chronic, this chronic idea of it. Fatty pancreas has a lot to do with it. Now, fast forward today, there was a study that was done back in May, I believe, like I said, back over in Germany. I told you all I'm a nerd when it comes to this information. And so as soon as it came out, I already knew about it, and I read it. But it's one of those things where I'm just moving, I'm going, and I forget a lot of things, so to come back to it. But a colleague just emailed me the research because I guess they just got their hands on it. And I was like, you know what? This is something very important that we need to talk about. So a lot of times, people who are diabetic, they're told that after being diabetic for years and years and years, that there's a pretty good chance that their pancreas could burn out. They're told that there's a pretty good chance that your beta cells could burn out. Now, back in 2014, I read a trial called the Stampede trial. And this is this trial where they took morbidly obese diabetic patients and they did a bariatric surgery. And they found out that within 3 months of those patients having that bariatric surgery, mostly all of them had reversed their diabetes, or they went from 4 medications to 1 medication and very minimal dosage of the medication. They also saw that their secretion of insulin when they were diabetic, which was lower over the months after the surgery, they started to see that their insulin was able to get back to normal functioning. And what they attributed this to was the fact that, one, they were eating very little, and they were also the frequency of their eating had decreased. They also realized that the adipocytes, or the fat that was in the actual pancreas, had dramatically decreased. So this was one of the first points for me where I started making the correlation between fats inside of organs that actually decrease the function, which makes sense. Fat is actually an organ, and that's a whole different conversation, but fat is actually an organ, and it does not belong in organs. And so the minute that fat starts getting engulfed in these organs and these cells, such as the hepatocytes, the liver cells, such as the pancreas, such as the heart. Yes, you can have fatty heart, just like you can have fatty pancreas and fatty liver, and so on and so forth. But once it starts getting inside, infiltrating those cells, the function of it decreases. And we have to figure out why that's occurring. So in this article, I posted the link to this article all the way at the very bottom in the reference section. It says references, and you click on that. It's going to give you a summary of the actual article. For you to read the whole entire thing, you have to have a membership to the Journal of Metabolism, and I don't recommend spending that money. Just give it some more time, and it'll be on the internet pretty soon. But I'm going to go through and pretty much try to break down what the study showed. So once again, this is done over in Germany. The two scientists, they had a theory that fatty pancreas played a large role inside of type 2 diabetes, but they wanted to know if they were right, and they also wanted to know if it did have a role, just how much of an impact fatty liver actually played on type 2 diabetes, because it didn't make it's starting, people are starting to realize that the whole pancreas burnout doesn't really make sense. You have so many aspects of your body that will rejuvenate and regenerate itself, and these scientists were leaning more to the point of, that can't be right, and so they want to see just how much it affects the actual diabetes. And so what they did, this study was done on mice, right? So this study was done on mice, which is one of the sticking points for those who are anti-fast or who are anti-natural therapies. They will always tell you that, those studies were done on rats. Those studies were done on rats. You're not a rat, you're a human. So we can't look at those studies and say that it's going to happen to you. And they have a good point, right? We're not rats, but check out the game. Like, this is straight game. Because if this was a study debunking fasting, then they would say, oh, promising study shows that fasting doesn't work. If this was a study debunking, some type of herb, or it was a study that was pro medication, then they would miraculously say that this study looks very promising. Let's put some more money behind it. However, the conclusion of this study shows that fasting is extremely promising, but guess what? No money will be thrown that way for it to be done on humans. Now, just think about that. Like, fasting is very much affordable, right? Fasting is extremely affordable. Why are we in 2019 and there has not been any extensive study, large trial study? Why is there not anything done on fasting? But you have studies that are done on medications, blood pressure medication, diabetes medication, all these new devices coming out, all these new procedures coming out. All Avandia had its own trial that was killing people. So much money goes into the studying of things that may not work. They're not even promising in the clinical trials. But when it comes to fasting or things that are just very, very cheap, or there's not much money to be made with it, it's crickets over here. Like, it's crickets over in the area of study as far as fasting goes. So watch for that game. So pretty much what they did, they have two rats. Well, they have two groups of mice. And the first group was allowed to eat as much food as they wanted to. The second group was only allowed to, how many foods? Oh, one meal a day. And they wanted to watch just the, over 5 weeks, how much fat would develop inside of the pancreas. And so, long story short, with that one, the group that was able to eat as much as they want, they had a substantial amount of fat inside their pancreas. The group that only ate once a day had absolutely no fat in their pancreas whatsoever. So, of course, now it's time to see how their pancreas responds to eating. And so, what they already had hypothesized was that the fat inside of the pancreas was going to somehow inhibit the insulin eventually. And so they were right. But the way it worked is that pancreatic adipocytes actually mediated hypersecretion of the insulin. And so what they were able to do was they were able to actually put the mesh together the actual isolates of Langerhans and also fat as well too, and see that in the beginning, the initial phases of secretion of insulin, those cells that had fat infiltrated in those cells had a high secretion of insulin, a hypersecretion, not even normal secretion, a hypersecretion. And the cells that didn't, of course, they had the normal secretion. But over time, with the beta cells, the islets of Langerhans being engulfed with the actual fat cells, over time, it got to a point where that hypersecretion started to decrease until those beta cells would now act as if they were depleted. And so this is what looks like pancreatic burnout. This is what people are calling the pancreatic burnout. However, what they were able to see is that the beta cells are not actually burnt out. They're engulfed with fat. Just the same way with the liver. When your liver cells get engulfed in fat, it becomes resistant to insulin. And so here you have an organ that one of its job is to actually secrete insulin. However, when so much food is available and the glucose is so high, it has to overwork as far as secreting of insulin. And then it gets to the point where the insulin and the glucose are so high that the body is forced to just store glucose where it can and convert that glucose into fat because the food is coming so fast. And so we are literally eating faster than we can actually metabolize the food properly. We're eating way more food. So once again, supply and demand. The supply is extremely high. The demand is extremely low. What we're going to have in the middle, we're going to have a surplus. Like there's nowhere else for it to go. The body's going to do its best to try to secrete it out through the urine in the kidneys, excrete it through the urine. But for the most part, the body understands just how detrimental having high blood sugar levels in the actual bloodstream is. And so what it's going to do is it wants to actually store that glucose as fast as it can and then convert it to fat and then have that fat shipped off to your adipocytes, your actual fat cells, because your body can store fat all day long, all year long, forever. And so that's what they were able to find out with this study, is that it was actually the infiltration of the fat cells inside of the islets of Langerhans that disrupted the beta cells, but the beta cells were not actually burnt out. They were temporarily pretty much engulfed or dysfunctional due to the actual high fat consumption, the high fat amount inside the actual pancreas. So when people are talking about, when people are telling you that your pancreas burnt out, and they haven't done any kind of scan or imaging to actually look at your pancreas to see if you have fatty pancreas, or they're not even familiar with what fatty pancreas is, they truly cannot tell you that your beta cells have burnt out. And once again, this is what that study called Stampede found out. Those people who were morbidly obese, they thought they all had burnt out pancreases. All of them. They were morbidly obese. And so they were quite surprised when their pancreas started functioning again. And so my question to you all is, one, have you even heard of fatty liver or fatty pancreas? Have you heard of them either of the two? But two, imagine, so now you know about it, right? So now you know about it. I gave you the link. It's all the way at the bottom in the reference section. You can just do a simple Google search for fatty pancreas or fatty liver. This is the type of information that's actually going to empower you, because if you understand that you have an organ that is engulfed with fat, and that fat itself is actually slowing down the actual secretion rate of the insulin or whatever hormone is being secreted from it. Once you understand that that is a huge part of your quote-unquote disease, somebody should be coming up with a plan to actually decrease the fat inside of that organ. And that's another part of the study. Now they want to know, all right, so we have a fatty pancreas. We see that the fatty pancreas plays a pivotal role inside of type 2 diabetes. How do we get the actual fat outside the pancreas? How do they do it? How do you get fat outside of an organ? Come on, like this information is game changer. Like, how do you decrease the fat inside of an organ? How do you decrease that? That answer, knowing that answer, is a complete game changer because you're not even playing by their rules, and don't even expect these the system, the system to even tell you this. The way you decrease fat inside of your liver, your pancreas, and really any organ is by fasting. Fasting. Whether we're talking about 16 hours a day, 1 meal a day, 24-hour, a consistent regimen of fasting is going to start to utilize that fat inside of those organs because fat does not belong in that organ. And after several hours of fasting, and your body no longer has the optimal amount of blood sugar inside of the bloodstream, it will now have to pull on the glycogen stores from the liver, and then there's going to be a couple hours where you can utilize that glycogen stores in the liver, but then you're going to get to the point where you no longer have readily available glucose or glycogen, and your body's going to have to start utilize fat. Now, once again, and it's something that I always warn members, I warn my members in the TFL 28 challenge, is that within the first week or 2 weeks, you may not see the weight loss that you truly want to see. You may not see the big drops in the scale. However, if you're telling me that you're feeling lighter, you're telling me that you're feeling clear, if you're telling me that you're not having any headaches, if you're telling me you're feeling better at all, you're getting benefits. However, it's just in that first week or the first 2 weeks, the fat that you're losing may be coming from, is most likely coming from your actual organs, because your body has to make a decision. You know, do we deal with the fat that he or she doesn't like that's on our arms, or do we deal with the fat that's actually killing us slowly? Do we deal with the fat that's actually in the organs? Which one do we do? Aesthetics versus functionality. Your body is going to decrease the fat in the organs, and that's why you're going to start to feel like you're lighter. You're going to start to feel like you have less headaches. You're going to start to feel sharper, because once you start to decrease the fat in the liver, your liver is like a huge filter when it comes to your blood. If your filter is dirty or your filter is clogged up, how clean do you think that blood is going to be? But not only that, if you understand how polluted waters cause problems for people, especially children, if you understand how polluted air causes problems for people, if you understand how pollution in general causes problems for the people, you need to understand that when you have high levels of glucose, high levels of toxins floating around in your blood, and your filter, which is your liver, is supposed to be cleaning that blood and release and giving you cleaner blood. How clean can the blood get if the actual liver, the filter itself, is not optimized? If the filter itself is actually fatty, it's only but so much cleaning it can do. And so that suboptimal blood is now continuing to go through your 60,000 miles of blood vessel. And so people are going to still continue to have that foggy, clear, I feel heavy. But once they start fasting and once their body starts depleting or decreasing the fat in those organs, people start to say, I feel lighter. I feel clearer. Like something's different. I can remember things. And this is because your liver is now functioning at a higher level. Your pancreas is now functioning at a higher level. And so these organs, if you're diabetic, if you're pre-diabetic, if you're insulin resistant, you have fatty liver or fatty pancreas on some level, at least. I have to say most likely. Okay, most likely, because I can't diagnose things like that. So this is a powerful study. This is a powerful study. Like I said, I pasted the link in the very bottom of the references. But Google, you don't have to even go through it, because this study is pretty long, and like I said, you have to have membership. But Google fatty pancreas and fatty liver. Kind of connect the dots as far as how does this work inside of diabetes. Because what you're going to find out is that fatty pancreas and fatty liver is the foundation of type 2 diabetes. And 9 times out of 10, you've probably never even heard of fatty pancreas. Maybe liver. Maybe I would say 6 times out of 10, you probably heard of fatty liver. But fatty pancreas, I had a doctor that practiced medicine for 24 years. I don't want to put him on the spot. I said fatty pancreas, and this dude's head went upside down. He was like, yeah, I don't really know if that's a real thing, because if it was a real thing, it'd be really bad. I was like, yeah, that's my point. It is really bad, and it is a real thing. So, once again, understand the connection of the two. Understand how important that is for you to know if you are diabetic, pre-diabetic, or insulin resistant. Understand the role that fat inside of your organs play and how it decreases the actual the rate, the optimization of it. And then also understand that fasting is pivotal when it comes to decreasing that fat in those organs. You got to understand that, because if not, you're going to continue playing this game that this disease management system has laid out for you. And that's why they can predict that by 2030, there's going to be an insulin shortage. That's why they can predict by 2030, the rate of diabetes will go up by 50%. They can predict that because the advice and recommendations that they're giving you is horrible. So I have to come back on here later on, probably tomorrow, and do a video on sulfonylureas, because I've just had about enough of sulfonylureas, the glipizide, the glimepiride. I've just had enough with them, and I'm going to take my time and thoughtfully go through a quick presentation about those, and just have a discussion around it. So that was it, everybody. Want to get on here real quick. Make sure you check out the reference at the very bottom of the my captions and description. But also make sure you check out and sign up for our new challenge we have coming up next week, starting next week on Monday, July 8th. It's called the Fast Life 28-Day Challenge. Make sure you check it out. Make sure you sign it up. I guarantee you will not regret it. It is a life-changing challenge. We're utilizing fasting. We're utilizing 5 basic habits. We have a community of people who are dope. We have some of our members in here right now. If you've already signed up for the challenge, first of all, welcome. Thank you so much. Get ready for more conversations like this, but also get ready to be introduced to, we got to choose his name, Little Zamunda / Little Wakanda. We'll figure it out. We work it out. But the Facebook group is lit. That's where all the magic happens. That's where all the it's like our virtual living room. So if you already signed up for the challenge, give us until Thursday. Thursday is going to be the first day of orientation. You will receive an email. Along with that email, you're also going to get a membership access and Facebook access. And once you do that, please make sure you come into the Facebook group. Like, don't miss that. Come into the Facebook group, because you're going to come into, like I said, the same way they had that scene in the Black Panther when they were flying and then all of a sudden Wakanda appeared. Like, that's what it's like once you get inside there. Everything is just normal and basic. You see like trees and plants, and then boom, we come up. All right, so what's going on, y'all? Janice, what's going on? Janice is also in our group as well too. Shout out to the sis. She's had, I don't want to tell people's business, but Janice did really good with the challenge. Appreciate you so much, sis, and I believe she's coming back as well too. Barbara, what's going on? You're welcome. You're welcome. Stephanie, what's going on? You are welcome. Shirley says fasting for sure. And Shirley, did you join? I'm not sure. I think you did. But Barbara says definitely change eating habits. God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So like I said, we only have a few spots left for the Fast Life 20-Day Challenge. So if you are going to sign up, do not wait until the end of the week, because once we fill up, we're going to fill up and we have to close down, because we want to make sure we are able to deliver quality content to our members and quality attention. So if you're interested in signing up, or you have any family members that can sign up, or friends that would benefit, come on in. Come on in, because we're going to have conversations like this all the time, or very frequently. And you'll be able to ask a question, and somebody, myself or one of the other 2 coaches, or somebody in the challenge, somebody in the actual group, is going to help you out. Okay? So that's it, y'all. I appreciate you all. Don't be surprised to see me back on here later on tonight. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to holler at y'all later. All right? Peace.